was a Saturday night at around 8:30 p.m. Chet was working the drive-thru window, but his coworker Farzana asked him to cover the register at the counter while she went to the restroom. Ronald Freeman shot and killed Chet without any warning or demand for money, even with two customers behind him and Farzana returning behind him. He ordered some food, and when Chet opened the register to give him his change, he shot Chet and then grabbed a little over $300 from the register.
Oh, God.
Chet was still holding the $2 Freeman had given him for his order when he fell to the ground. He also had a few toys, usually found in Burger King child meals, in his pocket. He was just a kid, a sophomore in high school. He was pronounced dead when he reached the hospital. When he was arrested a few weeks later, we learned that Freeman had gone on a 3-month crime spree and had killed 2 other people in similar store robberies that January. The day he was arrested, he shot 3 of his friends during an argument, one of whom was in a vegetative state for 5 years before he also died. I was 18 years old and a freshman in college at Emory University. We were not quite 2 years apart in age. Chet was my best friend. When we were small, we shared a bedroom. Even when my family moved to a bigger house, we still wanted to share a room. I still have a recording he made for me singing Happy Birthday when I turned 13 and he was 11. In high school, we even double dated to the prom. Little did I know that I would only have childhood years to make a lifetime of memories. He told our mom on the night he was killed as he left for work, "Later, Mom, love ya." That was the kind of 16-year-old kid that Chet was. He was kind, caring, hardworking, fun, friends with everyone. He was a great brother and friend. We'd only been living in Cobb County for 8 months, but hundreds of kids from his high school lined the church at Chet's funeral. He played football, wrestled, and ran track. He had good manners. He was funny, always making jokes or funny faces, or telling the most entertaining stories. He would have been a great man if he'd been allowed the chance to grow up. My mother went to the video rental store the night he was killed, and another customer mentioned that there was a fire at the Burger King. My mom decided to go by there just to check, and when she got there, the Burger King was eerily dark and surrounded by police and fire. She parked next door and walked over. It was 9:15 p.m. While they stood in the parking lot of the Burger King, Detective Dawson told my mother that her son had been shot and killed. She fell into him, and he held her up. They went home with her to notify my dad. I can't imagine what it's like for law enforcement officers to tell families this kind of news. For those of you who do this as a job that are here tonight, your compassion in these moments is so important, and we never forget. I remember the night that didn't know only trauma can bring. My mother thought it was best to tell someone who was with me first in case I fell apart. I saw my college roommate's face as she told her while they were on the phone, and I knew immediately that something horrible had happened. When my mother told me, I fell to the floor. I remember running back to my dorm room hysterical and feeling as if I had left my body and was watching myself. When I got home, I remember calling my mother Mommy, something I had not called her since I was very young. I slept in between my parents in their room that night. I don't know if any of us really slept. I listened to my mom weeping all night. For years, I used to sit on his bed and spray his cologne with my eyes closed, trying to feel his presence. I tried to contact mediums and psychics. I used to wish I would die too so that I could be with him again. A few weeks after he was killed, I overdosed on sleeping pills and spent 2 weeks in the hospital getting treatment for depression. I had to drop all my classes that semester. The district attorney at the time, Tom Sharon, and his staff kept my family informed of every court date and brought my parents in for a meeting in the first few months to discuss the possibility of seeking the death penalty. Because Freeman's other murders occurred before Chet was killed, we were also told that it would likely take several years before our case would be brought to trial. But they presented the evidence from all three cases at each trial because they were all so similar. My mother and I attended all of them in 1993, 1994, and 1995. These trials all happened before Georgia passed the Crime Victims Bill of Rights, and before there was federal funding available for victim services. The Cobb DA's office had some volunteers who would sometimes sit with us during trial, but mostly it was the assistant DAs and Marietta Police Detective Mike Christopher who explained what was happening. I remember Mike Christopher so fondly. He was a great detective and a wonderful human being. He kept my mom and I going on many hard days during those trials. I learned last year that he passed away in 2020. We were always treated with dignity and compassion.
Thank you.
But even still, some of what happened during court left scars on my soul. The images from the medical examiner are seared into my brain, but my mother and I felt that we had to see and be there for everything, that we had to do that for Chet. I was sequestered and not allowed in the courtroom during the last trial in my brother's case, so that I could give a victim impact statement during the sentencing phase. My parents had to choose as well, and they chose not to give statements so that they could sit through the trial. Thankfully, the law has changed, and victims' rights have expanded in Georgia. Crime victims can no longer be excluded from court proceedings for merely giving victim impact evidence. There was one holdout, and so he did not get the death penalty. But none of the juries had the option of life without parole, since the law giving this option wasn't passed until after the murders. For cases that occurred back then, people who got a life sentence were eligible for parole after only 7 years. Even with Freeman getting 4 life sentences plus 60 consecutive years for all of his cases, he was eligible for parole in 2015 after only 23 years. Don't ask me how the parole board does their math. He was denied parole in 2015 and again earlier this year, but he will come up for review again in 2028. I waited on pins and needles for months to learn their decision this year, and the time between his parole reviews gets shorter each time. I will spend my life fighting Freeman's parole if I have to. I will do that for my brother Chet, who I still ache for today. Despite Chet's death and going to trial every year that I was at Emory, I graduated from college and I went on to get my master's degree in social work. I've been a victim advocate for my entire professional career. Almost all advances in victims' rights have come from the activism of survivors. It is because of their work that I was able to give a victim impact statement at trial, and that victim advocates like me and those here tonight are an integral part of our criminal justice system today. Thank you to all of the advocates that are here tonight for the work that you do. Your role is so important to victims and families like mine. I love this work, and I can't imagine doing anything else. But Chet's murder has changed who I am fundamentally. It defines me, and there's something quite sad about that. In many ways, my life stopped that Saturday night when Ronald Freeman pulled that trigger. I've never married, and I don't have children of my own. I often worry that I've been irrevocably damaged by that traumatic loss. I pray not. Whoever said that time heals all wounds doesn't know anything about trauma. I've always hated when people say God has a plan, or everything happens for a reason. Although well-intentioned, it hurts. I know that they're just trying to make sense of something that will never make sense. But I can't believe that God let or made this happen to Chet or to me. I instead believe that he brought people into my life that helped me and my family in the aftermath. and that now he brings me into other people's lives in the aftermath of something they've gone through. And this brings me comfort. Over the years, there have been many ways that trauma and grief continue to impact my family. Many family and friends stopped saying Chet's name or talking about him. We need for people in our lives to still talk about them, to remember them. It's something I most appreciate about Kim McCoy.
Thank you, dear.
You always remember to say Chet's name when you speak with him. I'm also so grateful for your wall of remembrance and for events like this that show the commitment your office has to the families of homicide victims like mine. I've come to know that grieving isn't over after the trial. I wish it were. My dad found solace in alcohol and died from liver disease at age 65. My mom died at 73 from colon cancer after years of prioritizing everyone else above herself. No one in my family has set foot in a Burger King in 31 years. I still have to change the channel or mute the TV when a Burger King commercial comes on. I've had to watch Chet's friends grow up and have kids of their own on Facebook. I remember the kick in the stomach I felt in 2009 when I realized that Chet had been dead longer than he had lived. My mother felt similarly when my nephew, her grandson, turned 16 and reminded her so much of Chet. And even now, sometimes I feel paralyzed by the fear that something will happen to my niece or nephew. I've done my best to keep going and to make a difference in this world, but this trauma, this hole in my heart, will just never go away. It's just covered in 31 years worth of scar tissue. If you were to ask me whether healing is possible, I would say, yes, but. I've been changed forever, and I will probably always feel the impact of Chet's murder. But I have also learned to find meaning in my life through helping others. I have people I love dearly in my life who I support and who support me. I try every day to focus on the good parts of humanity, like those of you here tonight who fight for justice and serve the community. I have learned to look for beauty in the world, like noticing the way that the sun rays shine through the trees while I'm on my way to work. I'd like to end with a short story from Catherine Wallace based on Winnie the Pooh that illustrates perfectly one of the most rewarding parts of being a victim advocate and is a lesson in how each of us, even in a small way, can make a difference for someone struggling with trauma and loss. It occurred to Pooh and Piglet that they hadn't heard from Eeyore for several days, so they put on their hats and coats and trotted across the 100-acre wood to Eeyore's stick house. Inside the house was Eeyore. "Hello, Eeyore," said Pooh. "Hello, Pooh. Hello, Piglet," said Eeyore in a glum-sounding voice. "We just thought we'd check in on you," said Piglet, "because we hadn't heard from you, and so we wanted to know if you were okay." Eeyore was silent for a moment. "Am I okay?" he asked, eventually. "Well, I don't know, to be honest. Are any of us really okay?" That's what I ask myself. All I can tell you, Pooh and Piglet, is that right now I feel really rather sad and alone and not much fun to be around at all. Which is why I haven't bothered you, because you wouldn't want to waste your time hanging out with someone who's sad and alone and not much fun to be around at all, would you? Pooh looked at Piglet, and Piglet looked at Pooh, and they both sat down, one on either side of Eeyore in his stick house. Eeyore looked at them in surprise. "What are you doing?" "We're sitting here with you," said Pooh, "because we're your friends. And true friends don't care if someone's feeling sad or alone or not much fun to be around at all. True friends are there for you anyway. And so here we are." "Oh," said Eeyore. "Oh." And the three of them sat there in silence. And while Pooh and Piglet said nothing at all, somehow, almost imperceptibly, Eeyore started to feel a very tiny little bit better. Because Pooh and Piglet were there. No more no less. Thank you.
Hey, Marie. How you doing?
Thank you, Amanda, for sharing your story and sharing your heart, and for offering words of comfort and words of encouragement to the group that we have gathered here tonight. We do have a token of our appreciation for you. We have a challenge coin from the office, and then these flowers here are for you, and you can get them when you leave. Okay? Thank you very much. So now we're going to move into the remembrance part of our ceremony and our candlelighting ceremony. I'd like to introduce to you those who will be leading us as we move through the remembrance tonight. Cindy Bard, many of you know Cindy, is a victim advocate here in our office, and she is assigned to our Major Cases Division. And Paul Camarillo is the Deputy Chief Assistant District Attorney, also assigned to our Major Cases Division, and they will walk you through the Candlelight Vigil.
Hello. So I'd like to call your attention to the candles at the front. The unlit candles represent your loved ones, and we're going to honor them in just a moment. We wanted to honor these families who could not be with us tonight as well. So for every small candle on the side tables, 3 deceased victims are represented. Victims of murder, manslaughter, vehicular homicide, and unsolved cases. You may also have noticed the photo scrolling in the background. There are over 600 deceased victims we honor tonight. Now for those present tonight, me and Assistant Deputy Chief Paul Camarillo will read your loved ones' names. As your loved one's name is read, please stand in memory of them.
Adrian Thomas Warner Coleman.
Anna Venn.
Anthony Jones.
Anthony Tavares.
Judy Couch.
Oh. Beauty. Beauty.
Charles Blanchard. Christopher Ewing.
Dakari Early.
Deidre Smith.
My baby getting ready to come up, y'all. They getting ready to show my baby.
Ebony Driscoll.
He getting ready to come up.
Eric Stone.
Thank you.
Frank Davidson.
Jason Green.
Ivan West.
Jesse Aguilar.
Kellen Herrera.
Lori Ann Smith.
Maurice Arnold.
Mitchell Jones.
Paige Jenkins.
Phyllis Wooten. Ronell Cherry.
Shalik Burkhead.
Sylvia Caldwell.
Thank you. They like candles too.
Thomas Ariola.
Once. Thank you, Andy.
Timothy Bennett.
Sandra Olivario.
Thank you, Katoya.
William McGee. anyone whose name we did not call, a family member's name we did not call?
Y'all send those hearts up for all the families.
It is our hope that this night of remembrance has been as special for you and your family as it has been for us. This event could not have taken place without the assistance of many, including our victim witness staff. Would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. And also, parents of murdered children, if you would stand and be recognized. Thank you. I don't know if you had an opportunity to meet the parents of murdered children in charity. They have a table outside. So if you have an opportunity, please talk with them to find someone with a common bond with you. I would like to leave you with this thought. Nothing we love is truly lost. As long as we live, they too will live. For they are now a part of us as we remember them. Within us, they're like burning eternity. Find comfort in knowing that in God's own time we shall meet again. So as you come here tonight, know that I speak for all our staff and program participants when I say that we are honored to have spent this time with you, to have celebrated this evening with you, to have participated in this night of remembrance, so that we will never forget our loved ones. Your journey and what you have come to bring to us. So on our way out, we have a small token to give to each of you, an appreciation of your support and attendance tonight. It's a little ornament which has the ability to place a picture in it. So please make sure you get one before you leave. Please feel free to stay as long as you like to mingle and talk to one another. Please finish off the food that we have. But most of all, leave with a smile on your face, knowing your memories are there with you always. The loved ones that you have, they will never be forgotten. For each year we will do this. And as long as we're here, you are welcome to come and to celebrate your loved one. For they live eternally inside of you. So thank you. And please accept our condolences for your losses. But know that we love you just as you love them. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll show y'all. Wait a minute. Hey, baby. I'm good. I told you I was coming. That's EJ's lawyer. That's the one representing EJ. Let me show y'all what they did. Hi, beautiful. How are you? Much better. Your loved one? Yes. Y'all see her loved one? Oh, handsome. Let me show y'all what all they did for us.
Yeah, you want one of these? I know it's fun.
They got cookies. Juice. Wasn't that nice of them, y'all?
No, when I see you,
I'm gonna give me some lemonade.
oh, okay. I was like, oh, it's his fault. That would have been embarrassing.
Thank y'all for joining me.
Okay, I thought that's what they said. My statement was like, actually, no, that's
Here you go, sweetie. Wait a minute, I got so much in my hand, y'all. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I know.
You need to make sure you would keep
Love you too.
Someone talking about losing their breath.
Yeah. I'm just gonna eat. I ain't gone yet. I'm just gonna eat. I was trying to get a little spot. Love you too. Yes, please. Thank you. Let me show y'all. Hey, what's these? Hey, Louisa. You hang them up. You put your the little boy's picture in it. I'm gonna come back to y'all, okay? Love y'all. Thank y'all for joining me.